I'm going to try not to rant because this has happened in the last hour, I think. Yeah, in the last hour. And I've only just got back from my morning coffee. But I know I look like a zombie because I was up all last night working. But I don't normally do reaction videos. But I want to do this because I do live in Bournemouth, and I've lived in Bournemouth for the last 10 years. I live and work in Bournemouth, and I've become attached to Bournemouth Football Club. I've got connections in Bournemouth, in the football club, and I love football. I'm a fan of football, and I think the game is becoming toxic. I think the game is becoming worse. I think it's getting... I'm a coach myself as well. I understand. Even though I've played rugby, which is a different game, I understand how hard it is and how political it is sometimes. So you've clicked on, because you're watching this, it's a minute in, so you must know what I'm going to talk about. And it's all over the news. So Scott Parker has been sacked by Bournemouth. And look, the game of football is bad already. You know, even before the days of Pep and Klopp, and even before the beautiful Premier League that we had over the last few years before it became this higher level that we have now. You know, we had the likes of Stoke and Sunderland where managers would get sacked and then would bring in Sam Allardyce, would have Mark Hughes, we'd have these kind of swirling managers where they would come in and they'd save a struggling Premier League club. We've always had that. I mean, how many managers have Watford had? So it's always been pretty bad, but it is getting worse. And I think this has brought me out to do a vlog reaction, because it's not even, the transfer deadline day hasn't even happened. It's still August. So I'm going to try and remain as calm as possible, which is difficult because I'm filled up with caffeine. And I've got, I mean, look at how much notes I've got. So I'm going to try and remain as calm as possible because I like Scott Parker. He was a good player and he was a good coach, and especially for Bournemouth. And I think before I get into the detailed analysis of why it's the most ridiculous decision ever, obviously, yes, they lost 9-0 against Liverpool, but Manchester United lose against Liverpool. You know, City lose against Liverpool. Everton lose against Liverpool. Tottenham lose against Liverpool. They're the best team in Europe. Everyone loses against Liverpool 90% of the time. So, you know, you can't... This is what I'm talking about. It's not even the end of August, and you're judging how his season would have been based on a result against arguably the best team in Europe. That's one of the most ridiculous decisions I've ever heard of, because it's hard enough getting into the Premier League. So I shouldn't say this, but I do know the chairman of AFC Bournemouth. I don't know him personally, but I've got a connection there. So he would have gone there and he would have made a decision. Them at Bournemouth would have made a calculated decision to go, right, how many games are we likely to win? Or even worryingly, they haven't made a calculated decision and they've made an emotional decision because of this 9-0 defeat against Liverpool, because they saw the social media reaction and the whole world went, oh, everyone's laughing at Bournemouth. Everyone's laughing at Bournemouth. When actually, everyone laughs at everybody who gets beaten by Liverpool. You know, a week ago, everyone was laughing at my team, Manchester United, and saying they were going to get relegated. And what happens? All it takes is that one result, and it was against Liverpool. It's really worrying how reactionary the footballing world is. We go from one result to another. I've got it here. Can you really judge a season by one game? No, of course you can't. Any experienced player, anyone who's played in a game for a long time, and it doesn't have to be football, it can be basketball, it can be baseball, it can be the NFL, it can be anything. Anyone knows you've got an awful long way to go. You know, when it starts to get hard and it starts to get tough in October, in November, in December, when you've got trophies, when you've got competitions, when you've got 2-3 games a week, and then the season's not even finished then. It's August and they're already sacking managers. What are we doing? You know, and can we just get an elephant out of the room? Because I'm going to be talking for a while. In a game, even though I didn't play football, I played rugby. In a game when you get completely outrun, and I've had my fair share of those in rugby, if a team is 100% better than you, and sometimes that happens, a coach can do everything, but at the end of the day, they're not the ones on the pitch. Scott Parker wasn't on the pitch that day against Liverpool. So he can do everything tactically, but at the end of the day, it was the players on the pitch. Now, when you get a result like 9-0, it's the players' fault. It's not Scott Parker's fault, it's the players' fault. Because a coach or a manager can do everything possible, and I'm a coach myself, they can do everything possible to motivate somebody. They can do everything possible to get the tactics right, they can get the boards out, they can get the iPads out, they can get everything possible to go, this is what I want. But at the end of the day, it's the player's mindset, and it's up to the player. And there's 11 of them out there to go, I'm not gonna let this happen. And it's bad enough when we see games like it's 3-2, 2-1, and you let something happen. But 9-0, that's the players. That's the players. And this goes into, you know, throwing Scott Parker under the bus, because, you know, Bournemouth can win. They can perform. They do have good players. They got promoted under Scott Parker, so there is something there. This is a clear as day example of the toxic environment of the Premier League that we see, and we've seen it with clubs like West Brom when they were in the Premier League years ago, Watford, Norwich. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Sean Dyche, say his name correctly, you know, the most loyal serving manager I think we've had in the Premier League, and we all loved him at Burnley, but you know, he's no longer there, is he? I don't think anymore. He you know, it seems like ages ago now that we were talking about him getting sacked. It is a very big problem, and I need some coffee, because I don't even support Bournemouth, but it angers me. You know, and I think I watched it's happening right in front of me. I've got my laptop here, so I should be doing some work, but I have a little cheeky day off. So Sky Sports are talking about it now. They've conceded 16 goals, and there's worse teams than that in the Premier League. Manchester United are down at the bottom as well, and you know, there's Liverpool as well. I mean, there's always one that gets the axe, isn't there? You know, I remember there was a lot of talk about Frankie de Boer at Crystal Palace, because obviously with the Ajax connection with Manchester United, because Manchester United were having a lot of attention on them recently for not having won a game. And this is the Premier League's problem. They don't have the big picture outlook. It's very reactionary. It's one game, one game, one game, one game. In reality, if you win, you know, a couple games on the bounce, you can be in a better position in, you know, in 3 weeks. But people don't see that. And a week is a long time in the Premier League. And you can be gone like that, whether you're a player, whether you're a coach, whether you're whatever your position is. And there's also an argument to say, you know, I don't want to make this video too long. I'll make it really short. So I'll kind of end it towards here. But you know, has he been thrown under the bus? Because Fulham and Forest, I think those are the three teams that have come up. So Bournemouth, Fulham and Forest. Forest, I think they've had like 17, or was it 7? How many signings have they had? Ridiculous. But they lost to Spurs at the weekend, I think. So no attention on them. And ironically, I'm veering off here, but how weird is this? So Forest, one of the promoted teams, they lost to Spurs and got all of the signings, but there was so much love for Forest because Dean Henderson, English biased, flapped his cap around after saving a penalty. What the fuck's that about? So there's a load of love for Dean Henderson in the mainstream media because he waved his cap about as if he was playing cricket. But an English manager trying to get one of the English clubs, Bournemouth, staying in the Premier League, gets the axe and gets thrown under the bus. Anyway, that was me veering off. So back to my point. Fulham have been backed, big signings, Pereira, who else have they signed? A few other young players as well. Forest, Lingard, Henderson on loan, lots of other players, Spence, I think. Bournemouth, I don't know. I think they signed a few on free, on loan. Is it the board's problem? Is there a lack of transfer activity, and is there a lack at the board and at the top? And is this why they're throwing him under the bus because of that 9-0 defeat at Liverpool, to say, yep, you didn't do very well there, so we're going to bring in somebody else, and we've got the same players, we've got the same structure, we've got the same environment, and we'll try and grind out some results, and we'll do the same thing. Sorry, Scotty. See you later. I think that's what's going to happen, because that's what has happened at clubs like Sunderland, Stoke, West Brom, Watford, Norwich. Same thing. It's been the same thing for years. And all I want to say is, because I don't know how long people have listened for, because this is a very ranty, angry Nathan, but I'm sorry, Scott. I feel for you. As a coach, as a former player, as somebody who is an ambassador to the Premier League, I think you should just say, fuck them. You know, don't do any press conferences, don't do any interviews, take the money, go and live your life, and just say fuck them. That's what I would do. Because the Premier League show no intention of changing. They show no intention of changing, and managers and players will always get screwed over in this toxic environment. Take the money, go and enjoy your life, and say fuck them. Anyway, peace out, enjoy your day.